Today, guys, if you click that link, you're wanting to hear some of my winter tips for living out here in the Woodland Park area. So make sure you stay tuned to the end. You'll get all those tips, and I hope you enjoy them. Hey, my name is James Dean with James Dean Mountain Real Estate Team, and I'm here today to discuss different winter tips while you actually live up here in the Woodland Park area. But first of all, I just wanted to make sure, if this is your first time visiting my channel, make sure you click that subscribe button down there below. Hit that little notification bell also. You'll get a notification every time I send a new video out. I try to do them once a week, if not more often on there, just so you're updated with all the content of what's happening here in the Woodland Park area and Teller County area around the Pikes Peak region. And I would love for you to have as much information as possible. So make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Also hit that notification bell. If you've got any questions at all, please don't hesitate to give me a call at 719-304-9772. You can also shoot me a text at that phone number, or you can email me at james.dean@kw.com. Honestly, I got folks that are calling me, texting me, emailing me all the time, asking questions, curious about what it's going to be like to move there, curious about what things to do there, just asking me just basic questions. So please don't hesitate to ask. You can also comment. I'm not as quick with the replies in the comments just because they don't pop up on notifications like when you call or send an email or a text for that matter. But please reach out if you got any questions at all. Let me be your local expert and help guide you through what to do here and how to live, where to live up here in the Woodland Park area. So once again, just make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. So I hope you enjoy this video. Okay, today guys, I'm going over some just basic winter tips. We finally have gotten some decent snow out here in the Pikes Peak region. We've got more expected next week, so it's starting to pile on. But I just figured this would be a great time to kind of give some pretty easy winter tips that'll make your life a lot easier if you follow these. So I hope you really enjoy them. So my first tip is when you get a snow, sometimes you might need to shovel or plow before the snow's done, depending on how much snow is coming down. But usually if it's 5 inches or less, you're not going to need to do that and just wait, because there's typically going to be a lot of wind on that too. And we have really dry snow normally. So when you go out there and you plow or you shovel right away, the wind's going to blow it right back on it. So it's super frustrating. Sometimes you have to, if we're getting a lot of snow, like 5+ inches, you might need to go out there and just start early and do some of that so it doesn't get too deep for you and you're going to get stuck later on. So definitely something to think about with those in mind. Now with that, the next day after a snow, like we just had a snow yesterday, and I'm about to actually do this as soon as I get done doing this video with you guys. So when you actually have a snow prior to that, highly recommend that next day when that sun comes up, before it gets a chance to really start melting and then refreezing, that's when you want to do your shoveling. That's when you want to do your plowing. If you let it melt and then go to another nighttime where the temperatures drop and it refreezes, you're going to end up with a lot of ice, and it's going to be very difficult to kind of get that stuff out of the way, and you end up with some really slick spots. Plus the snow gets heavier when it does that, when it starts melting a little bit. If you knock it out immediately when it hasn't started melting yet and it's still pretty dry, it is so easy to move. It doesn't, I mean, it's very simple. It's a lot lighter, it's real fluffy, and you just get it out of your way. It's not a problem at all. So definitely want to look at doing that before it melts and then refreezes. Some other things you want to think about too is, if you don't have the ability to plow, like with a side-by-side or an ATV, or if you got your own tractor or even plow on your own vehicle, and you've got a driveway that's bigger than you're ever going to want to shovel, you might want to reach out and start talking to some folks that shovel throughout the winter season or plow during the winter season, and have them on your phone and ready to go. That way, when you do get a snow that comes in, they've already got you planned into their schedule to come over there and help you out and get you out of that. So certainly something that can help with that. Some other things to think about too is your types of tires that you're using on your vehicles. So a lot of you, if you've not lived in the mountains before, you don't have a 4x4, or even if you do have a 4x4, you really got to be careful what kind of tires you have. And the reason why I say that is you can go real cheap and have a tire that looks like a really nice tire, but you're going to get the performance of a cheap tire, and that could be really dangerous in the snow. Now, if it's ice on the ground, it's going to be slick for everybody, but if it's just packed snow and you've got the right kind of tires, you're going to be able to maneuver and not worry about getting stuck like somebody that doesn't have that. Plus, if you got a rear-wheel drive vehicle, you really might want to look at getting straight up snow tires that are put on your vehicle also. My wife and I first moved out here with a Dodge Challenger, 6-speed, awesome car. Love that car. Our first portion of the winter we were out here, we had a really heavy snow at Veterans Day, and yeah, that thing wasn't going anywhere. In fact, I almost got it stuck at the bottom of a hill. So the tires that were on it were more summer type tires for flat land, flat terrain. Didn't really work well for the snow. So we ordered Blizzaks. Blizzaks are excellent. You can usually get them for fairly cheap if you get like last year's version or whatever on TireRack.com. I'm pretty sure you can get them pretty cheap up there. You can also go into town, get them at Big R Tires. You can get them at Keller Tire. Lots of different tire places up here are going to have those. But I definitely recommend those, especially if you got a rear-wheel drive vehicle. If you have a front-wheel drive, you can do more of an all-season on there. Lots of folks do get the studded tires. Well, I say lots. You don't see that a whole lot up here, mainly because the sun melts the snow and the ice so quickly up here. So if you get studded tires, just know, I mean, it's going to be, you're going to have that noise that comes from them, and it's not back east or up in Michigan or anything like that, so it's really not super necessary for those, unless you're just doing it for recreational purposes and you just want to go out and have fun with them. But usually a good set of snow tires works pretty good. Now, even if you got a 4x4, you still want to look at getting good tires. And honestly, we've spent tons of money on tires. We've got SUVs and trucks, and whenever I buy tires now, the only tire I get is a BF Goodrich KO2s. Hands down, best tire year round on there. It does excellent in the snow, does excellent in the mud when we get into our springtime, when we start getting those snows that melt really quickly and it gets into the muddy season. It does excellent with those also. Highly recommend. I've had them on diesels. I've had them on regular unleaded trucks. I've even got them on my FJ right now. So highly recommend those. And how you know you're going to have good snow tires typically, or they're going to work well in the snow, is they'll have those little squigglies that kind of go down on the lugs on the tires themselves. Those little squigglies are what actually separates and provides that traction on the snow. So once those squigglies start getting really shallow, that's something that you want to look at, and potential of maybe getting new tires for that next season. Great example, I had tires on my FJ that would have worked fine for another summer, but they just weren't. The little squigglies on there for the snow portion were just not conducive to maintaining those tires through this next season, so I went ahead and got new tires. There are tire shops out there that will go ahead and put those in there for you, but really, I mean, after you're paying for the labor and everything else, you might as well just buy new tires for your vehicle at that point. So certainly recommend that. And don't be intimidated by the folks that are out there blazing by you on the roads. There's some people out there that are absolutely crazy on the roads, and they'll go 70 miles an hour in a snowstorm with ice and everything else, with like 10 feet of visibility with the snow coming down. So just make sure you got your lights on. If you're going below the speed limit and it's low visibility, I'd recommend throwing those hazards on also. Whatever you can do to just provide that visible barrier so that people will see you as quickly as possible if they're going faster than you and they got the ability to move and get out of the way. Some other things that I want to talk to you about too is just recognize that up here in the mountains, they're going to have traction laws that'll go into places in certain areas where you're required to have a 4x4 with tire tread that is usable for the snow, or chains for your vehicles. One of the places that happens the most at is south on 67 from Divide to Cripple Creek. Very common to see traction law go into a place there. So that's certainly, and if you, and normally you don't have police officers out there checking before you go down there, so it's your responsibility to have that. But if you end up in an accident and they find out that you don't have a vehicle that was compliant with that traction law, you will get a ticket and you will get fined for that. So, and you will be held liable as well if you're involved in an accident with somebody else. So definitely something to think about. A lot of folks don't really realize that when they come up here. Chains is a way that you can actually let a vehicle that doesn't necessarily have the 4x4 requirements or the type of tires they need, you could throw chains on and go up there also. You'll see a lot of trucks, big trucks, having to do that also, like the 18-wheelers. So certainly something to think about in that aspect too. If it is a spring or fall type snow that ends up with lots of ice out there, don't hesitate to kind of pause a little bit and just kind of wait for that to melt. Those can be the iciest snow conditions. Those are usually the wettest snows that we get to, especially if it snows during the day and the ground is not cold enough for it to freeze or to accumulate on the concrete. It starts melting immediately. When those temperatures drop at night and the sun goes down, the power of the heat from the sun goes away, that's going to turn to ice on the roads. So it can become a skating rink very quickly out there. And the only way to avoid that is having chains or studs in your tires. Anything else you have is still going to be super slick. So take it at a speed that you need to be safe for you and your family. Don't push it. Don't get impatient. Always count on things taking longer to get to certain places when you're out there and you're driving around in the wintertime also. So other great tips to have in your vehicle is never get less than half a tank if there's a snowstorm coming in. You never know if you might get stuck somewhere, or you might, I mean, heaven forbid, you might actually slide off the road. And the only source of heat you're going to have is by your vehicle running. So don't let your gas tank get too empty on there. Always have that source that you can get the heat on there. You always want to get your seasonal checkups in your vehicles too before it gets super cold. When it gets very cold outside, car batteries will go much faster. So just expect that. You're going to have batteries go quickly. Also, just watch out for the plows. The plows are going to throw up rocks as well as just dropping sand and gravel down there that can get thrown up in the windows. It's not uncommon to have lots of cracked windshields up here in the mountains of Colorado. That's very, very common. We usually go through a windshield a year, honestly. Right now, I've got 3 cracks in my FJ on its windshield, which the FJ is like the worst vehicle in the world for cracked windshields. Apparently, I didn't know that till I got it, but I've been seeing it. But I try to wait until after the snow season, after the spring going into summer, before I do a change in windshields on that. So certainly something to watch out for. Also, be careful of those snow plows out there. Don't follow too closely. They're going to be dumping stuff. Be very careful when you're passing one. They're not always necessarily going to be able to see you, and if that thing hits you, it's not going to feel you. I mean, it's going to be bad. If there's 2 snow plows that are in echelon, so they're kind of staggered like this, it is against the law to pass those snow plows also. So something else for you to think about too when you see them staggered in an echelon position on there as well. And always make sure they've got room to get in and out and you're not bogging them in or stopping progression of them actually doing their jobs out there, because those guys do a phenomenal job getting out there taking care of our roads, and they do it very quickly and they stay out there and they continue to work through it. So, well, there's some basic winter tips. Oh, one other thing too though, kind of started this with the half tank of gas. Also make sure you've got some sort of a winter survival kit. A lot of folks will leave blankets, some kind of road flare, something in their vehicle just in case something does happen. And they're unable to keep their vehicle running. But I mean, that would be awful if you got stuck somewhere in the snow in your vehicle's out of gas, you can't keep running it because maybe it was an accident and you can't keep it going. You need to have something in your vehicle to keep you warm because it gets super cold during these snowstorms. Example, last night got down to -4 at our house. It's not uncommon to see it -17 down here, down in the Divide Valley areas and stuff. So definitely want to make sure you've got plenty of warm clothes, jackets, whatever you carry with you normally. Even if you're out during the day and you feel like, oh, I'm going to be back at night, just bring that with you. It's the safest thing to do. You're never going to regret bringing it, but you're definitely going to regret not bringing it if you needed it. I promise you that. So I hope you enjoyed these tips about living in the winter out here in Woodland Park. Once again, this is James Dean with James Dean Mountain Real Estate Team. And again, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, make sure you hit that little subscribe button down there. Hit that notification bell so you get notified every time there's a new video that comes out. And don't hesitate to give me a call at that 719-304-9772. I almost forgot my phone number. You can shoot me a text at that also, or you can send me an email at james.dean@kw.com. I'm here to help you guys. Please don't hesitate to ask. I can't wait to see you again soon. I'll see you next time.